And now, it is Poetry Out Loud time, the most wonderful time of the year. We would like to welcome you to Kingswood's 15th annual Poetry Out Loud. I am Preston Mills, and this?
I am Elliot Giesler.
And we will be your wonderful and wonderfully dressed MCs for the evening.
Before we begin, we'd like to give you just a little bit of history about this event here at Kingswood. In our first year, this facility was still under construction as the entire high school was going under renovation. So we needed a venue to host the event. And thankfully, the Wolfboro Inn agreed to host our school finals that year, and the tradition of Poetry Out Loud at Kingswood was born. The same year, we were fortunate enough to secure funding due to the generosity of the Wolfboro Rotary, and we are still fortunate to have Wolfboro Rotary support this evening.
In our first year, in 2010, Mal Cook was the president of Wolfboro Rotary. Mal served as a judge in that competition and has returned as a judge every year since, including tonight. Thank you, Mal. Thank you to current Rotary President Zachary Porter, and thank you to all of the members of Rotary who are in attendance tonight.
Sitting alongside Mal in the judges' seats, in the front row here, are several other veteran judges of Poetry Out Loud. We have our wonderful superintendent, Dr. Caroline Arakalian.
We have Rosemary Lounsbury, the talented theater director and scholarship committee chair at the Village Players.
We have Lynn Peterson, our beloved Kingswood Regional Middle School English teacher.
We would like to extend a very warm welcome to GWRSD School Board member and first-time Poetry Out Loud judge, Mary Schillereff.
We would also like to thank our very own wonderful Mr. Sittimer for serving as our scorekeeper tonight, and to the English department's very own Miss St. Hilaire for being our prompter. Mr. Gagney and his agriculture science students also arranged for our floral over there, so thank you very much for that. And yeah, thank you, Mr. Giesler, I guess. And big thank you to his students who are running tech up there tonight. And we'd also like to thank Mr. Gauthier and Mr. Burns for providing our musical interludes.
Poetry Out Loud is a national recitation competition sponsored by the National Endowment of the Arts and the New Hampshire Council on the Arts. Performers choose their poems from the Poetry Out Loud collection of poems. Their performances will be evaluated on physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, and accuracy.
Please understand that the judges' decisions are confidential and final. In the event that a student needs a prompt, Ms. St. Hilaire, who will be seated near the performers, will give a prompt. There will be 2 rounds of performances with a 10-minute intermission between them. The 3 top scorers will be announced at the end of the evening, with the first place winner advancing to the regional semifinals to compete against the other winners from 7 other high schools. In the event that the first place winner cannot attend the original competition, tonight's second place runner-up will take their place.
Before the official competition begins, it is our tradition to invite 1 or 2 students to recite poems as calibrators. Their performance will give the judges, runners, and scorekeepers a chance to make sure that all systems are running smoothly before the competition begins. Their role is vital, and we thank them in advance for being here tonight.
One small program note, very unfortunately, former Poetry Out Loud state champion Emily Matos could not be here with us tonight, so you're going to see her name in the program, but you can just ignore that.
But with that, we now go to our first calibrator, who is from Kingswood Regional Middle School, Ariana McPherson. I am told that she has yet to finish Heartstopper 3. Her favorite food is chicken parm. She is an avid music listener to mostly reggae and artists like Sublime. With those wonderful notes, please welcome Ariana McPherson.
Carnival by Rebecca Lindenberg. The mask that burns like a violin. Sorry. The mask that burns like a violin. The mask that sings only dead languages, that loves the destruction of being put on. The mask that sings, that sighs like a woman, even though a woman wears it. The mask beaded with freshwater pearls with seeds. The plumed mask. The mask with a sutured mouth. A moon face. With a healed gash that means harvest. A glower hides wanting, a grotesque pucker. Here's a beaked mask, a braided mask, a mask that without eyes, a mask that looks like a mask but isn't. Please don't try to unribbon it. The mask that snows coins, the mask full of wasps. A lace mask to net escaping thoughts. Pass me the rouged mask, the one made of sheet music. Or the jackal mask, the hidebound mask that renders lovers identical with night.
Our second and final calibrator for this evening will be Logan Thurber. Logan, by his own words, is considered an avid gaming connoisseur, very good American for that, enjoys homemade tacos, who doesn't, and specializes in on-stage performance, including memorizing 226 lines for a single play last week. I went to see it. He was amazing. So everybody, please welcome Kingswood Theater's very own Logan Thurber.
After the Winter by Claude McKay. When the trees have shed their leaves and, against the morning's white, the shivering birds beneath the eave have shelter for the night. Oh yeah, we'll turn our faces southward, love, toward the summer isle, where bamboos spire the shafted grove, and wide-mouthed orchids smile. We will seek the quiet hill, where towers the cotton tree and leaps the laughing crystal roe and works the droning bee. And we will build a cottage there beside an open glade with black-ribbed bluebells blowing near and ferns that never fade.
Before we continue, we do have one other programming note. We unfortunately left out that our other judge is Autumn Siders, who is a local published poet and is the manager of the Country Bookseller, and we thank her very much for being with us tonight. We now head to our first high school student of Poetry Out Loud tonight, who is Miley Bentley. She is a sophomore. She hopes to become a forensic scientist. Her dream place to travel is Greece. And now, don't cry, but her inspiration is listed as her mother. So please, without further ado, welcome Miley Bentley.
Now I'm Bologna by Jose Oliveras. My parents were born from a car. They climbed out and kissed the car on its cheek. My grandmother. To be a first-generation person, 23andMe reports I'm a descendant of pistons and drivetrains, 33% irrigation tools. You are what you do. My first job was in a lunch meat factory. Now I'm Bologna. It's not so bad being a person. The front seat of a car is more comfortable than the trunk. When they were babies, my parents dreamt of being Lamborghinis, not people. You are what your children grow up to do. If I put my parents' names on papers, what happens? The answer is quien sabe. The answer is yo no sé, pero no es abogado. People are overrated. Give me avocados.
Our second performer of the night is going to be Ellie Brown. Ellie is a freshman here at Kingswood. She is a member of the Kingswood Chorus, and she has listed her inspiration here as Jane Austen, which, yes, that is the correct answer. So everybody, please welcome Ellie Brown.
The World is About to End and My Grandparents Are in Love by Cara Jackson. Still living, they orbit one another. My grandfather, the planet, and Grandma, his moon, assigned by some gravitational pull. They have loved long enough for a working man to retire. Grandma says she's not tired. She wears her husband like a coat that survives every season, talks about him the way my parents talk about vinyl, the subject salvaged by the tint of their tongues. Grandma returns to her love like a hymn and marks it with a color. When the world ends, will it suck the earth of all of its love? Will I go taking somebody's hand, my skin becoming their skin? The digital age is taking away our winters, and I'm afraid the sun is my soulmate. That waste waits for a wet kiss. Carbon calls me pretty, and I think death is a good first date. I hope when the world ends, it leaves them be. Spares Grandpa and his game, Grandma spinning corn into weight, the two of them reeling into Western theme songs, the TV louder than whatever's coming.
Next up, we have Malcolm Clark, who I truly believe is the reincarnation of Einstein. He is a sophomore. He is an all-state winning trombonist. He also plays a ridiculous amount of other instruments. He is inspired by all of the teachers who have pushed him to be his best self, and he would like to thank his family and friends for putting up with his memorization process. So without further ado, please welcome Malcolm Clark.
The Conqueror Worm by Edgar Allan Poe. Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng bewinged, bedight in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets, they who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings in visible woe. That motley drama, oh, be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth into the self-same spot, and much of madness and more of sin and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs in human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form. The curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy man, and its hero, the Conqueror Worm.
Our next performer will be Josh Curl. Josh has been writing poetry since he was 12, and he cites his inspiration as his older sister, Emily. She is the smartest person he knows, and her grit, determination to excel, inspire Josh with motivation to persevere through any challenge in front of him. And once you have wiped the tears out of your eyes, please put your hands together for Josh Curl.
Come Back by Rocket Kalash. I hate how I can't keep this tremor inside. This mute matter of being made extant. This shiver in being. No, not being. This wild flying up from the inner surge. And this crack in the apparatus emptied around the corner from my particular warble. This dissolution in the pool of no single thing. This break in the entity of the single, of not a mistake in being made. This suffering of trying to contain the infinite in language. This refusal, inextricable from its mass. This love of love. This being only in your presence. This inability not to, or rather, the constitution of my broken image. Caressed by this permission to submerge this bigger and bigger being, tremor of infinite allowances, this telos of cataloging that which can never be disappeared.
Next up, we have Nelson Edwards. He would like it to be known that he is an Eagle Scout. He lived in Alaska for 5 years, which continues our debate of is Alaska a U.S. state? And he is inspired by Marcus Aurelius. Please welcome Nelson Edwards.
La Belle Damson's Mercy, a ballad by John Keats. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, alone and palely loitering? The sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard and so woe begone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest done. I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist in fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withereth too. I met a lady in the meads, full beautiful, a faery's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild. I made a garland for her head, and bracelets too in fragrant zone. She looked at me as she did love, and made sweet moan. I sat her on my pacing steed, and nothing else saw all day long. For sidelong would she bend and sing a faery's song. She found me roots of relish sweet, and honey wild and manna dew. Then sure, in language strange, she said, I love thee true. She took me to her elven grot, and there she cried and wept full sore. And there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses four. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamed, ah, woe betide! The latest dream I ever dreamt on the cold hillside. I saw pale kings and princes too, pale warriors, death pale were they all. They cried, La Belle Damson's Mercy, thee hath enthrall. I saw their starved lips in the gloam with horrid warning gaped wide, and I awoke and found me here on this cold hillside. And this is why I sojourn here, alone and palely loitering, though the sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing.
Our last performer of this first block is going to be Oliver Noel. Oliver is a sophomore here at Kingswood who also enjoys crocheting, which that is more dexterity than I have had in my entire life, so shout out to you. And Oliver lists their inspiration as all of the friends and family that showed up to support them tonight. So please give it up for Oliver Noel.
Superstition by Ashley August. In Central America, to whistle in your home meant you were making room for bad luck, like a man who didn't wipe his feet clean at the door. It meant you were inviting the host of an evil spirit. It meant you were asking for your home to be set on fire from the foundation. In America, people whistle while they work, whistle while happy, whistle to call an animal on four legs closer. Recently, I learned how to do this singing with just my lips, tongue, and breath. Old habits die hard, so I only do it outside the house. I have a fear of meeting the person who will ruin me while whistling, while happy or attempting to start a fire, which means they will be my very own evil spirit on four legs, the ghost my mother warned me about hissing past the doorframe, the unseen fire starter. The house will smell like propane and lighter fluid. While on the train, folks will look around like they just saw a ghost and asks what smells like it is burning, and I know they will mean me, which translates to me being the one with the dead dog, which means they will know I am the one who did not listen to her mother, who plays with ghosts and doesn't expect a fire or man to burn my house down.
Don't touch that remote, sports fans. Right after this 10-minute intermission, we will be right back. All of these wonderful performers will have another poem for you. But in the meantime, feel free to get up, stretch your legs, use the bathroom. We will be right back in here in about 10 minutes.
Hey. Well, thank you. Yeah, Facebook thinks I am like 88 years old because I like said it's like 1930. Thinks I'm 50 years old.
I had a birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
You're an intern.
Yeah. What day is it?
Seven.
My wife's 12. Really? How did you?
Yeah, my
wow.
house is different.
I guess so.
Those guys.
Yeah, you always reward Yes. I heard you had a birthday recently. Thank you. My wife and you are the birthday for 12? Yeah. 24. And that was like last Wednesday. It's a weird thing when you're 12. It shows up everywhere. Yeah. Thank you. It's like an NPR outro, intro thing. You know, it's hard to know how to get out. He has to keep whacking you saying, ready, stop. Come on, man. Yeah. Yeah, let's keep warming up. Oh, was your jam? I misread the nuggets. How about this one? 222. Hey, good. Thanks. You know. So it's like twice as long.
Poetry out loud, it's been so long. We've missed you.
Welcome back, everybody, to our second block of performances for the night. Once again, I am Elliot Giesler.
And I'm Preston Mills.
And we are so excited to get back into it with you guys. Our first up performer will be... Yes.
Oliver Noel. I've been here so long today.
Please welcome to the stage, Oliver Noel.
Advice from La Llorona by Deborah A. Miranda. A found poem. Each grief has its unique side. Choose the one that appeals to you. Go gently. Your body needs energy to repair the amputation. Humor, phantom pain. Your brain cells are soaked with salt. Connections fail. Unexpectedly and often. Ask for help. Accept help. Read your grief like the daily newspaper. Headlines may have information you need. Scream. Drop kick the garbage can across the street. Don't feel guilty if you have a good time. Don't act as if you haven't been hit by a Mack truck. Do things a little differently, but don't make a lot of changes. Revel in contradiction. Talk to the person who died. Give her a piece of your mind. Try to touch someone at least once a day. Approach grief with determination. Pretend the finish line doesn't keep receding. Lean into the pain. You can't outrun it.
Our second performer of the block will be Nelson Edwards. A couple fun facts about Nelson that I definitely did not just learn 5 seconds ago. Nelson's favorite book is Misery by Stephen King. And Nelson es una fanático grande del jefe de policía en la serie Tierra Incógnita. So please welcome back to the stage the man of the reddest hair, Nelson Edwards.
True Serum by Naomi Shihab Nye. We made it from the ground up corn in the old back pasture. Pinched a scent of night jasmine blowing off the fence. Popped it right in. That frog song, wanting nothing but echo, we used that. Stirred it widely. Noticed the clouds while stirring. Called upon our ancient great aunts and their long, slow eyes of summer. Dropped in their name. Added a mint leaf, now and then, to hearten the broth. Added a note of cheer and worry. Orange butterfly between the claps of thunder. Perfect. And once we had it, had smelled and tasted the fragrant syrup, placing the pan on the back burner for keeping, the sorrow lifted in small ways. We boiled down the lies in another pan till they disappeared. We washed that pan.
So I don't know Spanish, so there's that. But next up, we do have Josh Curl, who I have been told by this sheet, he always cries during movies about dogs regardless of the plot. So does everyone else, but we'll give it to him. So please, welcome Josh Curl.
Stop by Nikki Grimes. I come home, feet about to bleed from angry stomping. Boy, says Mom, quit making all that racket. What does she expect when day after day haters sling words at me like jagged stones designed to split my skin? I retreat to my room, collapse on the bed, count 1, 2, 3. When I get to 10, I snatch up journal and pen, flip to a clean page, and unload my hurt, my rage, till I can breathe again. Letter by letter, I rediscover my power to decide which words matter, which words don't, and whose. Calm. Now I remember. I get to choose.
Our next performer will be Malcolm Clark, and I think we're all very familiar with Malcolm and his musical talents. But I actually have the pleasure of running track with Malcolm in the spring. And Malcolm is a distance runner, I'm a jumper and a sprinter. So we live very different lives in that sport. But just a fun little fact about Malcolm, there are times at practice where I will see him running, and Mr. Myers has put together some ungodly distance workout for them to do that day. And it's the beginning of practice. I'll look over at Malcolm, he's going some ridiculous speed, and I'm like, he's just not gonna keep that up. Literally an hour will pass, and then I will look back over, and that dude has sped up. He is the man of infinite stamina. Please welcome back Malcolm Clark.
Snake Oil, Snake Bite by Dilruba Ahmed. They staunched the wound with a stone. They drew blue venom from his blood until there was none. When his veins ran true, his face remained lifeless, and all the mothers of the village wept and pounded their chests until the sky had little choice but to grant their supplications. God made the boy breathe again. God breathes life into us, it is said, only once. But this case was an exception. God drew back in a giant gust and blew life into the boy, and, like a stranded fish, he shuddered, oceanless. It was true, the boy lived. He lived for a very long time. The toxins were an oil slick, contaminated, cleaned. But just as soon as the women kissed redness back into his cheeks, the boy began to die again. He continued to die for the rest of his life. The dying took place slowly, sweetly. The dying took a very long time.
Next up, we have Ellie Brown. A fun and interesting fact about Ellie is that she was a Poetry Out Loud calibrator. It's been a long day. For the past 2 years while at the middle school, and we are very happy to have her here as a high school contestant. So please welcome back Ellie Brown.
Listening in Deep Space by Diane Thiel. We have always been out looking for answers, telling stories about ourselves, searching for connection, choosing to send out Stravinsky and whale song, which in translation might very well be our undoing instead of a welcome. We launch satellites, probes, and telescopes, unfolding like origami, navigating the geomagnetic storms. Major distributions. Rovers with spirit and perseverance, mapping the unknown. We listen through a large array. Adjusted eagerly. To hear the news that we are not alone. Considering the history at home, in houses across continents, oceans, even in quest armed with good intentions, what one seeker has done to another, what will we do when we find each other?
Our final performer of the night will be Miley Bentley. Fun little fact about Miley. Miley is playing Sam in this spring's production of Shakespeare in Love, which will be going up in March on this very stage and will be taken to several festivals across the state. And Miley, this past fall, had a very large role in our production of Beauty and the Beast. And while maybe the Beast hasn't forgiven her for turning him into a monster, I certainly have. Please welcome to the stage Miley Bentley.
When I Stutter by Elizabeth Mead. Sometimes M's elongate, grow long tongues to taste the last bit of breath my body has to offer. Sometimes I's echo like the harsh cries of a seagull, trying to fly away from the nest in my mouth, only to circle back to the ocean of my uncompleted sentences. Sometimes my breath becomes caught in the chamber of my throat, my head cocked back into the word at last, launches out of my mouth like a bullet or a punch. Sometimes my soft, raspy voice provides no balm to soothe the ear. Sometimes I remember Daddy said my voice sounds like Mommy's. I rejoice then as syllables trip over one another like eager children rushing towards the playground with all the freedom her voice no longer has. All that remains is my vocal cords, stomped flat like mud under the feet of my rowdy utterances.
one last round of applause for our contestants this evening. Before we continue on, we'd like to do a couple of thank yous. First, to our wonderful sponsors, the Wolfboro Rotary, the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, and the National Endowment of the Arts.
And a special thank you to the students and staff in our wonderful LRTC Agriculture Department, Principal Paul Famulari, Wolfboro Community Television, and the ladies and gentlemen, singular, in the KRHS English Department. How about that?
Now it is one of our wonderful times of the year, the time for the results. However, the greatest thing is, as of yet, we don't know what they are. So, if you would please enjoy the wonderful music that has been provided by Mr. Burns and Mr. Gauthier, and we will get you those results, and we shall be back. Thank you.
And we are back, and we have the pleasure of announcing our top 3 scores for the evening. But before we do that, we'd like to ask all the performers and calibrators, to join us over here for a photo op. Don't be shy. You guys can go over there. I think that's where the flowers are. I think so, yeah. They always do. Mrs. Strauss would also like to present each of you with a certificate of achievement for your efforts tonight. With the help of Ms. Bradley, of course. All right. And now we would like to announce our top 3 scorers who, in addition to prize money from Wolfboro Rotary, will also be invited along with their families to a Rotary dinner on March 18th.
In third place, with a prize of $100, Malcolm Clark.
Taking home second place with a prize of $150 is Joshua Curl.
And in first place, with a $250 prize and advancing to the regional competition on Tuesday, February 13th at the Rochester Opera House, Oliver Noel.
We would like to once again congratulate all the contestants. You guys can smile for your picture. You don't got to look at me. It's okay. And we'd like to thank you all for coming out here tonight. We hope to see everyone who made it to this event back here next year. Please drive safely. I'm Elliot Giesler.
And I'm Preston Mills, and thank you for coming to the 15th annual Poetry Out Loud competition.